What's up, guys? Welcome back to LIFM, and today we're going to be doing a game of EDH here in MTGO, but this is going to be a little bit different. This is actually a replay, as you can tell. I don't usually do replays. I prefer to do the live commentary, but this game was actually a little intense and pretty close, so I figured I'll try to do commentary as best as I can. I don't remember every play I made, as it was a very long game. Anyways, so the matchup is Sygg versus Dralnu Lich Lord, and I think this is the first time I've actually ever played against this commander. So the game starts out pretty slow. Land, go, go, go. Third turn, our opponent plays a morphed creature. I didn't really think much of it. I figured it was a discard card or something. Third turn, I believe I land Thassa. Third turn, pass it back to my opponent. And this is where the game gets interesting. Our opponent plays Chains, and basically it made me a little more unwilling to play my commander because it, in a way, it negates the effect and also works really well with their commander because they want cards in their graveyard so they can copy, so they can cast the flashback cost of it. So it works really well with this commander. I know most of you guys probably have played this as a commander or faced it before, but this was my first time facing it. So anyways, my opponent lands that. I'm tapped out. I can't do anything. I figured I'd keep this up to counter a spell, so I cast my commander there. And exactly as I thought, I got an opportunity to cast a spell. Unfortunately, my opponent was also ready for that and twin cast my counter squall and countered my counter squall. So my commander died and my opponent got to get in for 2 more damage here. So on my turn, I scryed, saw Liliana, I kept it. And here I believe, obviously I'm tutoring for a swamp. And here I don't cast Liliana here, I cast Deny Reality. What I was thinking was, I don't know what this card is. I want to find out what it is, and I also want to put it back on top of their library because they have 3 cards in hand, and most likely they're going to have to recast it as a morph creature, which will slow them down a little bit. I could have did it to this, but this only costs 2, and I'm not really going to get any actual results from it right away anyways. Plus I'm thinking maybe I'll cascade into something decent, so I cast Deny Reality, targeting the morph creature. I cascade into Kira, not a bad card to cascade into. And I find out that the morph card is in fact Willbender, so another change target card. Our opponent's turn, they're up to 6 mana, 5 untapped, and they take an extra turn. Play their commander, and on my turn I scry into Solemn, and I kept it. I believe I tried, yes, okay, that's what I thought. I cast my commander because it gives me devotion, so I can swing for 5. I knew it wasn't gonna do that much, but it was 7 damage, and I could play Elixir, so I went that route. I chose not to draw a card there because of Chains, and this is where things get interesting. My opponent takes an extra turn. They tap their commander, targeting Time Warp, flashbacks Time Warp, takes an extra turn, plays what I'm assuming is Willbender again, and starts their second turn. Taps their commander, targeting Walk of the Aeons, takes another extra turn. So they're into their second extra turn right now. And what he does here is Doomblade targeting Kira. Kira's ability triggers, so the spell gets countered. Then he targets Doomblade with his commander, giving it flashback and targets Kira again. So Kira's dead. It was pretty good. So I get bribery here. I choose to keep bribery. I'm gonna try to get something from my opponent's library. Of course, my opponent's not having it. I can't even pay 1 there. Probably wasn't the best decision. I probably should have played Solemn, looking back at the game right now, but I want to try to get something out of their deck. It seems like the way our opponent's deck work is a lot of counters and a lot of time walk effects to basically just lock you out and win with incrementally small damage. So I try again to cast Solemn here. Our opponent uses Perplex, and of course, I do not want to discard my hand. I have a counterspell in hand, Liliana, especially Phantasmal Image, and I have a Sword of War and Peace, so I just let Solemn go here. It's not worth discarding my whole hand, so I just pass the turn right back. My opponent casts his Venser. Bouncing Thassa. I actually didn't think he was going to bounce Thassa. I thought he was going to bounce Sygg. So this was actually interesting to me. I guess the reason behind that is that I was scrying every turn, which actually was pretty good. But that's the reason they bounced that. I can only block 1 creature. Not even. Because flashback on Doomblade says no. So far our opponents cast the flashback on 4 cards. That's a lot of value. We draw a swamp on our turn. Again, we attempt to cast something. Our opponent's not having it. I can't pay 3. So right here, I actually put Mana Crypt on top of my library. Stepped away for a second there. Anyways, so yeah, here I attempt to cast Phantasmal Image. He tries to Perplex. I counterspell his Perplex, and I copy his commander. Of course, our opponent's not going to have that, so they cast Sword of Temptation targeting Phantasmal Image, which of course dies immediately, and then swings for 4. We have no choice but to take it. End of turn here, I sacrifice Elixir to gain 5 life because we're getting pretty low. We're at 26. And on our turn, we draw... Yeah, this wasn't a very eventful turn for us. The scry here was Trinket Mage. Of course, I'm going to keep that on top. I can Trinket Mage for a few things here. I can Trinket Mage for Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, and Elixir, but I choose the Spell Bomb for the simple fact that my opponent has been abusing their graveyard the whole game, and I felt like that was the best card. Now here, I actually didn't think it would resolve, but I figured I'd get rid of another counterspell by casting it anyways. Surprisingly, our opponent actually lets it resolve. So that was very, very good for us. We take 2 more flying. We're at 18 right now. Our life's getting really low. I revealed what card was that? I forgot what card that was. I believe it was one of those artifacts that tap for mana, and I put it at the bottom because I need action cards at this point. So I swing for 4 here. Wasn't sure if my opponent was going to block or not. We wouldn't gain a lot of life from it anyways. It would be 1 life here, 1 life there. So our opponent blocks, which we're fine with. And right now our plan is going to be at end of turns to mill our opponent 3 cards. Because we have the ability to remove their graveyard whenever we want. When I revealed Ponder there, the reason I didn't keep Ponder is because, again, of chains. I'm probably reading this card wrong, but I'm pretty sure I did the right thing by not drawing all these extra cards. So anyways, I drew a Nero Commando here, and I think that was a pretty good draw. Just to have something that cannot be targeted, I feel like is pretty relevant here. So the attack forces our opponent to actually cast Evacuation, which we were completely okay with. We were outclassed on the field, and we had no problem with that card resolving. So we recast Trinket Mage. I believe we search for Soul Ring here. We cast Soul Ring, and I believe we cast our Commander. No, we just equipped. Yeah, it's kind of hard to remember exactly all the plays I made. So end of turn, our opponent plays the Fairy. And end of turn, we mill for 3 more. So we milled Power Sink, we milled Preordain, and we milled Remand. So we're okay with that. I reveal an island, which I believe I put to the bottom. And I draw another island, because that's how good I am at this game. Our opponent takes 4, and then 3 more, and we gain 2 life, so that's pretty solid. And here we cast our Commander, equip, and we also cast Nero Commando. This was not a great decision, I feel like, because our opponent has Sword of Temptation in hand, and we knew that. So what he could have done was take Thassa. Our opponent did not do that, however. They took our Commander, which I thought was kind of weird. But the fact that it turns Thassa off also made sense, and the fact that our opponent also had Venser made sense. So I kind of see where they're coming from there, but I would have done it differently myself. So at this point, we're down to 5. We have Thassa in hand. Anything we play is going to get countered, most likely. And we're just completely in top deck mode. Actually, at this point, anything we play won't get countered unless they have a counter in hand, because that's the reason why we searched for the Spell Bomb in the first place. So when he targets something with his Commander, we can remove in response. And I draw here what I think is probably the best card I could have drawn, which is Wormcoil Engine. So of course, I cast Wormcoil Engine. And then I cast Thassa. So our opponent attempts, they target Evacuation, and in response we exile their graveyard. Now I'm in a decent position here because none of the creatures fly except for this one, which is only 2 damage, and I'm at 5. So I still have a chance in this game. So no Evacuation, we exiled everything. Our opponent plays Soul Ring, swings for 2, which makes sense, and passes it back. We get an island, of course we ship it to the bottom, and we drew our own Sword of Temptation. So of course we attempt to cast Sword of Temptation, and our opponent counterspells, which is fine. Now our opponent's hand is empty. What we're going to do is we're going to equip Wormcoil with the sword, just so we can gain 8 life basically. Doesn't matter if our opponent blocks or not, we just want the life. 11 is a lot safer. We re-equip Trinket Mage, and we, I believe, ship the turn back. Right now we're both in top deck mode. And again, this is what I'm talking about with our opponent's deck is they don't mind discarding cards. So scry 4, then draw 2 cards. Our opponent pitched a Swamp and Cryptic Command, which is just a really solid card right now, Cryptic Command. Our opponent chooses to bounce or Wormcoil and tap the rest of our creatures. Okay, I'm back. So yeah, our opponent chooses to bounce Worm Coil and tap the rest of our creatures. Swing for a lot of damage. Again, we're pretty low here. We're at 3. We scry that away to the bottom, and Tezzeret was probably the only other card I could have drawn here outside of I'm thinking of the card that bounces all your opponent's permanents, non-9 permanents. So I drew Tezzeret here, and immediately I went for 4 mana. I went for artifact that costs 4, which is obviously going to be Phyrexian Metamorph. I copy his Sword of Temptation, took his commander just to stop this shenanigans from happening, and also have a flying blocker if I need it. I also have 6 land available, and I swing with Thassa here for the simple fact that if our opponent gets rid of our Devotion, Thassa is just useless and cannot block. So I swing for 5 with Thassa, I'm pretty sure. Yes, I did. Okay, good. And I pass the turn. So we're at 3. Our opponent has 1 card in hand. We don't know what the card in hand is, but we basically put everything on this play. We take 2 damage, just so we can keep our opponent's commander under our control. We take the 2 damage and risk everything on that 1 life. Our opponent obviously didn't have anything to stop that, so scry here, and we didn't keep Solemn. We drew a land instead, and it was 1 life, so it wasn't horrible. It wasn't great either. Again, we equip Worm Coil here. Swing for 8 with Worm Coil and also 5 with Thassa. Our opponent blocks both creatures. We have no issue with that. Our commander dies and Venser dies, which I'm happy about. So we gain 8 life. We're at 10. We re-equip the sword, and our opponent scoops. So yeah, that's the match. Let me know what you guys thought below. Like I said, I don't really do replays usually, but I thought this game was a pretty interesting match, and it was really close, so I thought I'd put it up. Thanks for watching.